The valley was quiet that evening, too quiet for a place that looked so alive. The glowing plants swayed in slow rhythm as if breathing. Pale blue mist drifted between black trees. Even the air seemed to hum with an unseen presence. Elias Ward adjusted the strap of his worn backpack and took a deep breath. After 2 weeks of travel, he had finally reached it. The Valley of Lumia, the one every map warned him not to enter. The locals had called it cursed, a place where no man was welcome. They told stories of men who vanished before dawn, of shadows that walked and of arrows that whispered through the dark. But Elias was not the kind of man who listened to warnings. He was an explorer, and more than that, he was stubborn. "Superstitions don't scare me," he had said with a half-smile at the village inn. Still, even he felt something strange here, like the valley was watching him. He found a small clearing beside a stream that shimmered faintly under the moonlight. The air smelled like metal and rain. He unpacked his tent, set up his small stove, and started a fire. The flames flickered, painting his face gold and orange. For a while, it felt peaceful. He ate from a ration pack and wrote in his journal, "Arrived at Lumea. Beautiful, but feels alive. Locals said no men allowed. Wonder what that means." A soft rustling made him pause. He lifted his head. Nothing, just the trees moving in the wind. Still, the feeling of being watched grew heavier. He glanced at the valley walls, tall cliffs like black glass rising into the night. The mist clung to them as if afraid to leave. The stream beside him rippled, though there was no breeze now. Elias frowned, reached into his pack and pulled out a small flashlight. The beam sliced through the fog, catching tiny motes of glowing dust in the air. Then something sharp struck the ground beside his boot. Thunk. He jumped back. An arrow, long, silver, and humming faintly with energy. Elias's heart thudded. He scanned the trees but saw nothing. "Hello?" he called, voice trembling slightly. "I don't mean any harm." No answer, only silence, heavy and complete. He bent down to examine the arrow. Its shaft was made from something that looked like crystal. Tied to it was a small piece of folded paper. His hands shook as he opened it. The writing was elegant, almost glowing. 60 seconds to run. At 61 we hunt." He stared at it, not fully understanding. What kind of joke? Another arrow struck the ground near the fire, then another, forming a tight circle around him. Each one landed silently, perfectly, as if thrown by invisible hands. Elias's instincts screamed at him. He grabbed his pack, stomped out the fire, and ran. The valley came alive. The mist swirled, whispering like a crowd of unseen voices. The ground pulsed under his boots. Every sound was amplified. The crunch of leaves, the beat of his heart, the hiss of his breath. He counted in his head. 20, 21, 22. At 30 seconds, he tripped over a root and hit the ground hard. His flashlight rolled away, its beam spinning wildly across the dark. He crawled, grabbed it, and kept running. The whispers grew louder, female voices chanting in an unknown language. He couldn't see them, but he felt them closing in. At 50 seconds, an arrow sliced past his ear, close enough for him to feel the heat of its energy. It buried itself in a tree with a sound like cracking ice. He gasped and stumbled forward. 55. 56. He could see the edge of the clearing now, the dark trees giving way to open ground. If he could just reach it. 60. He stopped. For one moment, everything went silent. No wind, no whispers, no movement. Only his heartbeat. Then from behind him, a voice spoke softly, calm, clear, and deadly. "You stayed." Elias turned slowly. Out of the mist stepped a tall, silver-haired woman. Her eyes glowed faintly gold in the moonlight. Her armor shimmered like liquid glass, and in her hand she held a long, curved bow aimed directly at his chest. Behind her, more shapes appeared, silent figures with bows drawn, their faces hidden beneath hoods. The woman's gaze never wavered. "You broke the only rule," she said, her voice like a quiet storm. "No men in our valley." Elias stood frozen, breath shallow, eyes locked on the arrow pointed at him. The glowing mist twisted around them both, almost as if waiting. And then, from somewhere deep within the valley, a low hum began to rise, a sound like the earth itself taking its first breath after centuries of silence. Elias realized too late. The hunt had already begun. Elias didn't move. The bowstring in the woman's hand was drawn tight, the arrow's glowing tip aimed straight at his heart. Behind her, a dozen figures emerged from the fog, silent as ghosts. Their armor gleamed like silver bones beneath the moonlight. The mist thickened around them. The air carried a faint scent of rain and metal. Elias raised his hands slowly, palms open. "I didn't know," he said quietly, trying to keep his voice steady. "I just needed a place to rest." The silver-haired woman's expression didn't change. Her voice was calm, but there was danger in it. "You were warned. No man crosses this valley." Elias swallowed hard. "Then why the message?" he asked, nodding toward the arrow still clutched in his hand. "You told me to run." For the first time, she blinked as if surprised he'd spoken back. "We gave you a chance," she said. "Few take it. Fewer survive." One of the huntresses behind her stepped forward, her face hidden beneath a hood. "End him, Valora. The law is clear." So this was her name, Valora. Elias took a small step backward, but an arrow instantly struck the dirt near his boot. He froze again. The women moved in unison, forming a wide circle around him. The mist swirled at their feet, glowing faintly with the same strange light that pulsed from their weapons. Valora lowered her bow slightly, studying him. Her eyes flickered between gold and green, like liquid metal under light. "You're human," she murmured, almost to herself. "The old kind." Elias frowned. "The old kind?" She didn't answer. Instead, she turned to one of her warriors. "Search him." Before he could protest, 2 huntresses seized his arms. Their touch was strong, too strong. They pulled off his backpack, scattering his things: a half-empty water bottle, a worn field journal, a solar lamp, and a cracked compass. Valora crouched and flipped open his journal. Her eyes scanned the pages quickly. There were sketches of the glowing trees, notes about air composition, and one line that caught her attention. "This place feels alive." Her gaze lifted to him. "You see it too." Elias hesitated. "You mean the heartbeat? The way the ground moves?" A faint ripple passed through the group. The women looked at each other uneasily. Valora's voice lowered to a whisper. "You hear its call?" "I don't know what I hear," Elias said honestly. "It's like the earth is breathing." Valora stood. Her bow lowered completely now. "No man has ever felt the valley's pulse," she said, eyes narrowing in thought. "It rejects them. It kills them." Elias tried to speak, but a sudden gust of cold wind cut him off. The mist around them began to move, not drifting but swirling, twisting into faint shapes. For a moment, Elias thought he saw faces, tall, feminine, ancient. Whispers filled the air, soft and rhythmic. The huntresses knelt as one. Even Valora bowed her head. "The spirits of the heart speak," one murmured. "They judge him now." Elias's skin crawled. He couldn't understand the whispers, but he felt them deep in his bones. They were curious, testing, watching him. Then, just as suddenly, the mist fell still again. The faces vanished. The whispers died. Valora rose to her feet, her eyes unreadable. "They've made their choice," she said. Elias braced himself. "And what is that?" She stepped closer, so close he could see the faint scars on her cheeks, marks of old battles. "You live," she said quietly. For now, the circle broke. 2 of the huntresses approached and tied his wrists with glowing rope. He didn't resist. "Where are you taking me?" he asked. Valora looked toward the heart of the valley, where the mist glowed brighter, almost like a sunrise trapped underground. "To the mother tree," she said. "If you truly hear the valley's voice, she will know." Elias tried to steady his breathing. The rope was warm, pulsing like a heartbeat. As they began to march, the forest whispered again, soft, haunting, almost like laughter. He glanced at Valora walking beside him, her bow slung across her back. "Why do you hate men so much?" he asked quietly. She didn't look at him. "We don't hate," she said. "We remember." The path ahead curved into darkness. The air grew colder. The glowing ground beneath them pulsed stronger now, once, twice, like the slow thud of a giant heart. Elias felt the rhythm match his own. He didn't know it yet, but the valley had already marked him. And by the time they reached the mother tree, the rule of no men would never mean the same again. The glowing mist thickened as Elias was led deeper into the valley. The path wound between massive trees that seemed to breathe, their roots glowing faintly beneath the soil like veins of living light. The huntresses moved silently around him, their steps perfectly synchronized, bows resting against their backs. No one spoke. Even the air seemed afraid of sound. Finally, the forest opened into a clearing. At its center stood a colossal tree, the mother tree. Its trunk shimmered silver blue, branches spreading so wide they touched the valley walls. The light from its bark painted the mist gold and green. Elias had seen alien wonders before, but nothing like this. The tree was alive, truly alive, humming like a beating heart. Valora stopped beside him. "Kneel," she commanded. Elias hesitated, then sank to one knee. The rope around his wrists glowed softly, still pulsing with that strange, steady rhythm. He looked up at the glowing bark and whispered, "What is this place?" Valora's voice was calm but cold. "The heart of our world. The breath of our mother. It keeps us alive. It remembers every wound." One of the huntresses, a tall woman with emerald eyes, stepped forward. "He must not speak before the mother," she said sharply. "He's already broken the sacred law." Valora turned slightly. "And yet the mother has not rejected him." The woman frowned. "She should have. No man is allowed here." Elias looked between them, confused. "Why?" he asked softly. "What did men do?" Valora's eyes darkened. "Long ago," she began. "Before your kind burned the skies, men came here, explorers, soldiers, thieves. They saw the valley's light and wanted to own it. They cut into the roots, took pieces of the mother tree for their machines. The ground bled. The sky turned black for 7 days." Elias listened quietly, heart pounding. Valora continued. "When the storm ended, the mother spoke one command. No men. Never again. Every male who enters this place dies before dawn. The curse keeps us safe." Elias swallowed hard, "But I'm still alive." Her gaze lingered on him, unreadable. "That's what frightens me," the other huntresses murmured among themselves. One hissed, "He mocks the law." Another said, "He is not worthy of trial." Valora raised a hand, silencing them. "Enough. The mother will decide." She reached forward and placed her hand on the trunk of the mother tree. The surface rippled like liquid light. Then, to Elias's shock, a tendril of glowing vine extended toward him, wrapping around his arm. He flinched but didn't pull away. The vine was warm, almost gentle. It pulsed, once, twice, matching his heartbeat. The air filled with faint whispers again, the same ancient voices he'd heard before. Valora closed her eyes, listening. The huntresses bowed their heads, then the light faded. The vine withdrew. Valora opened her eyes and looked at Elias with something that wasn't anger. It was confusion. "She spares you," the huntresses gasped. "Impossible," one said. "No, man, she spares him," Valora repeated firmly. "And that means something." Elias exhaled shakily. "So I can go?" Valora turned to him. "No, you stay, until we understand why." 2 huntresses dragged him to a nearby hollow beneath the great tree, a natural prison made of twisting roots. The air inside was damp and glowing faintly blue. They tied him to one of the roots and left. When they were gone, Elias tested the rope. It wouldn't budge. The glow from the root pulsed slowly like a sleeping creature. Hours passed. The mist outside dimmed to soft twilight. From his spot, Elias could hear the distant voices of the huntresses speaking in their ancient tongue. And once, just once, he heard Valora's voice alone. "He reminds me of the first one we lost," she said softly. "The one who tried to save us." The words echoed in his mind long after her footsteps faded. He looked up at the glowing ceiling of roots above him. "First one?" he whispered. "What happened to him?" The valley didn't answer, but a faint tremor passed through the ground and a slow, rhythmic beat. Elias felt it deep inside his chest. The heart beat again. He closed his eyes, and for the first time, he felt a strange connection, like the valley itself was breathing with him. He didn't know yet, but that single heartbeat had changed everything. Elias woke to the sound of humming. It wasn't a voice, not exactly. More like the valley itself was singing. The glowing roots around him shimmered faintly, sending soft ripples of light across the walls of his wooden prison. Every pulse matched his heartbeat. He sat up slowly, his wrists still bound by the living ropes. They felt different now, warm but not tight, as if the valley no longer saw him as a threat. Outside, faint morning light filtered through the mist. He could hear the huntresses talking, their voices sharp and musical. And then one voice stood out. Valora's. Calm, strong, uncertain. Moments later, she appeared at the mouth of his cell. Her armor glowed faintly with the same hue as the mother tree's light. For the first time, she wasn't holding a weapon. Still alive, Elias said with a weak smile. Valora's lips twitched. Not quite a smile. Barely. The council wanted to end you at dawn. And you? I told them to wait. The mother spared you. There must be a reason. She stepped inside. The mist followed her, curling around her boots like smoke. Her eyes studied him carefully. You said you feel the valley breathe, she said softly. Show me. Elias hesitated, then pressed his palm to the glowing root beside him. Listen, he whispered. Valora knelt and did the same. The moment her hand touched the root, the pulse quickened, steady, strong, like a living heart. The ground beneath them vibrated gently. Her eyes widened. You awakened it? No, Elias said. It's been awake all along. You just never listened. The light around them flared for a moment, and in that glow something deeper stirred. Elias's mind filled with flashes, visions of ancient times. Men and women working side by side beneath the mother tree. Laughter, unity, then fire, machines, and screaming. The valley burning. The betrayal. He gasped and pulled his hand back. The images faded instantly. What did you see? Valora demanded. Your past, Elias said quietly. And your curse. Valora stood, her expression hard. Speak clearly, human. Elias looked up at her, breathing fast. It's not a curse of hate. It's a curse of balance. The valley isn't punishing men. It's trying to protect itself from destruction. From anyone who brings harm, male or female. Her brow furrowed. That's impossible. The mother's word was final. Maybe it wasn't her word, Elias said softly. Maybe it was her wound. Valora fell silent. The idea shook her. She turned toward the glowing entrance where the mist curled like living breath. If what you say is true, she whispered, then everything we believe is wrong. Before Elias could answer, a sharp horn sounded in the distance and deep, ancient, echoing through the valley like thunder. Valora stiffened. The council, she said. They've called the hunt again. For me? Elias asked. No, she said grimly. For us. They emerged from the hollow to see a circle of armed huntresses waiting near the mother tree. Their armor shimmered like moonlight, bows drawn, eyes burning with fury. The emerald-eyed warrior stepped forward. You've broken the law of the valley, Valora. You touched the man. You spoke the forbidden words. You side with him. Valora didn't flinch. I seek truth, not betrayal. The woman's voice rose, sharp as steel. Truth died with the men who killed our mother. Elias stepped forward. And it will die again if you refuse to see what's beneath you. He stomped on the ground. The earth responded instantly. A pulse of light raced across the clearing, through the soil, up the tree's roots. The valley trembled. The huntresses froze, staring as the mother tree's glow turned crimson for an instant, then returned to its calm blue. Elias looked at Valora. There's something under us, he said. Something buried deep. The valley's true heart. Valora's gaze turned distant, haunted. The Heartstone, she whispered. The one the first men broke. She looked at him again, her voice quiet but firm. If it still exists, it could end the curse. Or destroy us all. The wind picked up, scattering golden mist through the air. Valora untied his wrists. Come with me, human. The time for running is over. As they moved toward the far end of the valley, the ground seemed to follow their steps, a faint rhythm beneath their feet, as if guiding them toward something waiting in the dark below, something that had been waiting for centuries. The valley was no longer silent. It breathed, it moved. It watched. Elias and Valora stood at the edge of a cliff where the fog rolled below like a living ocean. The ancient drums of the hunt echoed through the valley, slow, deep, and terrifying. Each beat shook the air, each rhythm older than memory. Valora gripped her bow tightly. Her silver hair shimmered under the dim light. The council declared it, she said, voice tight. They won't stop now. What did they declare? Elias asked, though he already feared the answer. Her eyes met his. The trial of the hunt. You must survive until moonrise. If you live, the mother's judgment stands. If you die, the curse remains. Elias looked at the fog below. And how long until moonrise? Valora glanced at the sky, where the pale sun burned weakly through mist. 8 hours. Maybe less. He gave a hollow laugh. So I just have to survive an army of alien archers for one day. You won't survive by running, Valora said, pulling an arrow from her quiver. You'll survive by thinking. The others, they hunt by instinct. You think by reason. Use that, Elias smirked weakly. That's the nicest way anyone's ever told me I'm slower than my enemy. Valora didn't smile. Go now. Every moment you stand still brings them closer. He nodded, grabbed his small pack and ran into the mist. The valley turned against him. Every root, every branch seemed to move when he wasn't looking. The air shimmered with strange energy. From above he could hear faint whistles, arrows slicing through fog. He ducked behind a fallen log as one arrow struck beside his head, burning a hole through the wood. He gasped for breath, heart pounding. You can't see them, he whispered. But they can see you. He needed a plan. His eyes darted across the clearing. The ground was wet with glowing sap, the same energy that powered their weapons. Carefully, he dipped one of his broken sticks into the sap, watching it glow faintly. Then he spread it in a line across the dirt, forming a trap. Moments later, he heard soft footsteps, graceful and deadly. A huntress appeared through the fog, her bow ready. Elias waited until she stepped into the glowing line, then struck the ground with a rock. The sap ignited in a flash of white light. The huntress cried out and stumbled back, disoriented. Elias didn't kill her. Instead, he ran. Forgive me, he muttered, but I'm not dying today. As hours passed, he grew weaker. His legs burned. His lungs screamed. But the valley itself began to change around him. The heartbeat under the earth grew louder, guiding him, left through the stone archway right past the glowing vines. He followed the rhythm like a compass. At last, he stumbled into a clearing. In the center stood a small lake, mirror still, glowing faintly blue. He bent to drink but froze when he saw her reflection. Valora. You're not supposed to help me, Elias said quietly. I'm not, she said, lowering her bow. But I also won't let them slaughter you blind. She stepped closer. You saved one of my warriors earlier. You could have left her to die. The mother sees that. Elias shook his head. Saving someone shouldn't be a miracle. Valora studied him for a long moment. You speak like the first one, she said softly. The first one? The man who tried to heal the Heartstone, he failed. His blood fed the curse, the wind shifted. The drums grew louder. They're close, she said suddenly. You must go to the caves beneath the valley. The Heartstone lies there. If you reach it before they reach you, I can end this. Or die trying, she said, a horn blared, closer now. Valora turned toward the sound, drawing her bow. Go, Elias, run! He hesitated, then looked at her, a huntress ready to defy her own people for him. Why are you helping me? She met his gaze, her voice barely a whisper. Because the valley's heart beats for both of us, Elias ran. Through the trees, through the whispering mist. The ground shook as arrows rained down behind him. The drums pounded faster. The hunt had reached its final phase. And somewhere deep beneath the earth, the pulse of the Heartstone called out louder than the drums, stronger than the curse. It wasn't calling for a victim. It was calling for balance. The tunnels beneath the valley were cold and endless. Elias moved through them with only the dim light of his lantern, its glow weak against the black stone walls. The air smelled of minerals and something older, like time itself had stopped breathing down here. His footsteps echoed softly, joined by the steady heartbeat that pulsed through the ground. Thud, thud, thud. Each pulse seemed to whisper in his mind, urging him forward. He had been running for what felt like hours since Valora's warning. Above him, the drums of the hunt had faded. The mist, the arrows, the chanting, all replaced by silence. But silence wasn't peace. It was pressure, like the whole valley was holding its breath. Finally, he reached a wide chamber. The ceiling glowed faintly blue, and in the center lay a giant crystal formation, cracked, bleeding light. It pulsed like a wounded heart. The Heartstone, Elias dropped to his knees. So this is you, he whispered. The real mother. The glow responded, dimming, then flaring brighter as if it understood. When he touched the stone, a flash of energy surged through him. His mind filled with images, not words, but memories. He saw it all. A long time ago, the valley had been a shared home, humans and huntresses living side by side. They worshipped the same tree, protected the same ground. But then came greed. Machines dug into the soil. The men tried to extract the glowing minerals, ignoring the huntress's warnings. The mother tree screamed as her roots were torn apart. The Heartstone cracked, and when the valley began to die, the huntresses prayed for vengeance. The mother answered, but her anger was wild, not pure. Her curse was too strong. She banished every man, sealing the valley from human touch. The last man who tried to heal it had died trying. His blood sealed the wound. Elias stumbled back, breathing hard. His hands glowed faintly with the same light as the Heartstone. "It's not hate," he whispered. "It's pain. She's been hurting for centuries," a voice echoed behind him. "And you came to heal it?" He turned sharply. Velora stood in the tunnel's archway, her bow at her side. Her armor was scratched, her hair damp with sweat. She had followed him. "I told you not to come," Elias said. "I had to," she replied. "The others think you seek to destroy us. I had to see the truth myself." He motioned to the glowing crystal. "This is it, Velora. The wound, the curse, all of it." She stepped closer, awe in her eyes. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "And broken," Elias nodded. "If we can seal the crack, maybe the curse will fade." She frowned. "Seal it with what? Your words? Your science?" He held up his glowing hand. "With what she gave me. Look." The veins beneath his skin shimmered faintly, pulsing in rhythm with the Heartstone. "It bonded with me. Maybe it sees I don't want to take. I just want to help." Velora's expression softened. "You're not the first to try." "I know," Elias said quietly. "But maybe I'll be the last." He pressed his palm to the Heartstone. The ground shuddered violently. Energy flared, filling the chamber with blinding light. Velora shielded her eyes. The air roared with sound, not thunder, not wind, but a voice. Deep, ancient, and female. "Balance is not vengeance." The light grew brighter. Elias cried out, the energy burning through him, but he didn't move his hand. "I'm not here to take anything," he shouted. "Just let them see the truth." The glow surrounded both of them. Velora felt warmth instead of fear. The pain of the valley, the anger of centuries began to ease. Then, in the middle of the light, a shape appeared. The spirit of the first man. The one who died to stop the destruction. He placed his hand over Elias's and looked at Velora. "It ends when you forgive." Velora's eyes filled with tears. She stepped forward, placed her hand beside theirs, and whispered, "Then let it end." The Heartstone pulsed once, twice, then burst with a soft, silent flash. The tremors stopped. The air grew calm. When the light faded, Elias collapsed. Velora caught him, lowering him gently to the ground. His skin still glowed faintly, the mark of the Heartstone fading slowly. She looked at him, voice trembling. "You did it." "The curse." Elias smiled weakly. It was never about curses, just broken hearts. The valley above them sighed like a waking giant. For the first time in centuries, the mist began to clear. The valley was reborn, but not at peace. The light from the Heartstone faded into a calm blue glow that spread through the tunnels like flowing water. Elias could feel it pulse beneath his skin, softer now, like a heartbeat that finally stopped screaming. Velora helped him stand, her hands trembling, her eyes wide as she looked around. "The mother breathes again," she whispered. Above them, the ground shook lightly. Distant roars of thunder echoed, not of war, but of awakening. The curse was breaking, the valley's life returning. Yet the drums of the hunt still thundered somewhere far above, echoing one final time. "They don't know it's over," Elias said, his voice hoarse. Velora looked toward the lighted tunnel. "Then we'll have to show them." They climbed out of the cavern together, the walls pulsing faintly around them as if guiding their path. When they reached the surface, the world was different. The mist was no longer hostile. It shone with warm hues of gold and silver. The air smelled like rain after a storm. But at the center of the valley, a vast army of huntresses stood in formation, bows drawn, arrows glowing, all aimed at them. The emerald-eyed commander shouted, "You bring ruin upon us, Velora. You let the man poison the heart." Velora raised her bow high, the moonlight glinting off its edge. "No," she shouted back. "The curse is broken. The mother forgave us." Laughter rippled through the ranks, bitter, mocking. "Forgave?" The commander spat. "The mother does not forgive men. She devours them." Elias stepped forward despite the arrows trained on him. "Then why am I still standing?" The huntresses hesitated. The mist around Elias glowed brighter, wrapping around him like a halo. The air shimmered and the ground beneath their feet pulsed once more, a heartbeat shared by all. From deep within the valley came a whisper, low and powerful, carried by the wind. "Balance is restored." Every warrior froze. Their bows lowered slightly, confusion flashing in their eyes. The commander shook her head violently. No, it's a trick. He defiles the sacred law. She drew her bow and fired. The arrow screamed through the air. Vylora stepped in front of Elias without hesitation. The arrow struck her shoulder, throwing her to the ground. Vylora, Elias shouted, kneeling beside her. Blood shimmered silver against her armor. The commander knocked another arrow. But before she could fire, the ground erupted in light. The Heartstone's energy burst through the soil, glowing tendrils racing across the battlefield. The mother tree flared like a living star. Every arrow dissolved into dust mid-air. The huntresses fell to their knees as a gentle voice filled the valley. Not in anger, but sorrow. You hunted for centuries. Now you shall see what mercy means. The wind blew softly, scattering petals of light that landed upon every huntress. Their armor dimmed, their eyes widened. The rage that once fueled them was replaced by calm. The commander dropped her bow. The mother, she speaks again. Vylora groaned softly, leaning against Elias. It's done, she whispered. She's free. Elias held her close, the light of the valley reflecting in his eyes. And you? She smiled weakly. I am too. He looked around as the mist lifted completely for the first time. The valley was breathtaking. Silver rivers flowing through glowing trees, the air alive with the hum of renewal. The huntresses rose slowly, watching Elias not with hatred, but awe. The commander approached, kneeling before them both. Forgive me, she said softly. We did not understand. Elias shook his head. You don't need my forgiveness, just remember what balance feels like. The commander nodded. The law of no man will end. The mother's will is change. The valley's heartbeat slowed, peaceful now. The mist shimmered one last time, forming faint words in the air. Glowing letters that both could read. 61 minutes of fear. A lifetime of peace. Elias laughed softly through tears. Run 61. We made it. Vylora leaned her head against his shoulder, her voice barely a whisper. Then rest, human. The valley no longer hunts you. He smiled faintly as the dawn broke over the cliffs, sunlight pouring across the reborn land. The curse was gone. The valley had chosen life over vengeance. And somewhere deep beneath the glowing soil, the mother tree's voice whispered once more, gentle and eternal. The last man who ran learned to stay,